Hi, this is Glenda and I'm making today a bubblegum inspired soap. This is the sketching of it. The fragrance is going to discolor the soap a little bit because it has vanillin. So when I'm making the sketch, I made the background a little bit like a beige or tan. I'm going to put several embeds on this soap, including a gummy bear, a gummy worm, and of course some gumballs on top. I actually did a couple of sketches to give me ideas, so hopefully it will look something like any of them. I love how this bubblegum soap fragrance smells. If you like bubblegum, you will love it. The oils, I have them at a temperature of 127 Fahrenheit, which is 52 Celsius. This is warmer than what I usually work with. However, since I'm not doing any designs on the soap, I think it should be fine. The light water solution is at 24 Celsius, 76 Fahrenheit, so hopefully there is some temperature transfer. And I mix the fragrance with titanium dioxide in yellow color, like yellow lake, I think it is. I will put the details of everything that I'm using in the description box in case you're curious. I'm just going to add this slowly. The usage rate for this fragrance is a little bit low. It's like 3.3% maximum usage rate. However, I can tell it's very strong, and that is probably why. It does discolor. It has some vanillin, so it's supposed to discolor to like a light brown or a beige, which is what I'm adding the titanium dioxide to. Hopefully it helps it not getting too dark, and the yellow, hopefully it gives it a better tone than just brown. Okay, I'm going to start blending this. I'm going to blend in low for about, I don't know, maybe a minute or so, 15 seconds at a time, and I'm going to stir in between. Alright, I am at a very light trace. I'm going to go ahead and add the fragrance. I'm not sure how it behaves because I've never worked with it before, but hopefully not too bad. I'm going to go ahead and blend it in to make sure that it incorporates evenly, and so that the discoloration will also be even. Okay, so that looks well blended. And now I'm just going to put it on the mold. And the mold, I just made it earlier with, it's one of those corrugated plastic boards. And it has that colorant in there. It's going to come off. It's going to adhere to the soap. But I'm going to plane the soap to make sure that doesn't affect it. Okay, this soap set up pretty fast, so I'm glad I was able to pour it when it was still fluid enough that most of it is pretty smooth, except for this part where I scrape what was left on my container. So I believe it might be ready for the embeds. Here are some of the embeds that I will be using, which are very colorful, very pretty. At least I like them a lot. I did make tutorials for most of the making of these embeds, and I will publish them soon. I'm going to get about 6 bars from here, so it's going to be 3 and 3, and I'm just going to try to sort of guess what the best positioning is. So it's been about 16 hours, but I believe it's ready to come out. Surprisingly, the paint didn't transfer to the soap that much. Alright, here I was going to include the video of the cutting, however I lost that footage. So we'll jump right into the making of the soap that's gonna go on the top, with which I'm going to do the piping. This is the same recipe, or a very close recipe to the recipe for this soap. I'm working at a temperature of like 109 Fahrenheit or 42 Celsius. Initially, I added titanium dioxide, but it didn't look like I had added enough, so I kept adding and adding, and I knew it wasn't going to be distributed properly because I didn't disperse it, but I didn't want it to look too beige. I wanted it to look as white as possible. And I pretty much stick blended it until it reached a very thick trace, and it looked sort of like sour cream. Now, I usually do not pipe in soap. Was actually my first time attempting soap piping, so I wasn't sure when it was ready to be put into the bag. But what I did is that I kept moving it with a spatula to see if it will hold its shape. I somehow figured that maybe it will work the same way as when when you're baking and you're making the egg white frosting. You have to wait until it keeps a peak or something like that. Well, I didn't want it to be that thick, but I figure maybe it should be somewhat thick enough that it will hold a little bit of a peak. It took several minutes for this to happen. I just kept checking every so often. I would go and try to maybe start cleaning, wiping containers, just do something else, and then I'll come back and check on it. Then when I thought it was ready, I put a piping tip that I had, and then I just pour a little bit of the mix. As you can see, the temperature was still the same as before, 109. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't accelerating, that it wasn't moving forward, so that I will have time to do the piping. Now, the piping itself, I wanted it to be quite simple, just 3. Initially, I thought I would put 4 dollops, but I didn't think they looked good, so I only did 3 per bar. And the idea is just to have something on which I can put the gumball on it. So something big enough to hold the gumball. And the tip that I had is one that I bought at a dollar store. So it's small, and I don't think it's meant to create big dollops. So some of the textures I just did like circular spiral to sort of make it bigger and that it will feel the whole bar. Now I waited until it had hardened a little bit more to start putting the soap gumballs on top. And then when I did, this is what I got.